So we're going to be talking about Proverbs 27:19. As water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the heart. And if our hearts are a good reflection of what we believe, then we should be springing forth goodness. And I have an interesting story of early on in my relationship with my husband, Patrick. We kept circling through some of the same issues, same themes, and I sought help through prayer. And I remember walking through prayer and having this woman help me to see that the relationship that the Lord had put me in with my husband was not a trap, and that it wasn't bad, and that it was not an evil place for me. And all of the offenses and the hurt that I was experiencing in this relationship was actually coming from just deep-rooted beliefs that were not true from my own experiences as a child. And I walked out of that prayer time believing God that He is good and He is safe for me. And despite my circumstances, He had to come in and shift the very foundation of what I believed. And that was a beautiful image, because He showed me this place in a rock that He is a refuge and that He can be confidently trusted in despite my circumstances. So this scripture is beautiful, and I think it's a progress. I mean, it's it's a it's a chipping away, because once we get through this one victory, then
there might be another one. I don't know, like quite possibly until the day you die. Some people call those lies that get lodged in your heart. The Eldridges, Don and Stacy at Ransom Heart Ministries, they call it an arrow that pierces. And those arrows get lodged there. And one of the ways that I've seen it in my life is it's almost like that lie or that hurt, that wound, that misbelief, it gets stuck in your heart, and then it creates this little barb that snags.
Every time you encounter that same trigger or whatever, it's rubbing.
And so the way I've come to understand it in prayer is every time that little barb gets snagged by something, that's my invitation to say, oh, God, what's going on in my heart? Here, my life is reflecting my heart. I keep getting triggered by issues in marriage, or issues with my children, or issues with somebody at the church, or just, all your relationships, your precious relationships, especially your intimate ones. Tug on that thing, and then my decision, my choice, is to either point the finger at someone or something else and say, you stop triggering me.
That's easy. I'd like that.
For a little bit. But unfortunately, the barb is in my heart. It's not, in some ways, it's not even always their fault that they're snagging on it. I'm riddled with snags.
It's true.
And so, as you say, it's a process. God just graciously, year after day after day, month after month, year after year, as you begin to see, okay, the snag is the invitation to say, God, what's going on? Come in to remove this arrow, remove this lie, bring in your truth. And then you start to remove all those little snags. And then things that used to drive you crazy, that when your husband did or didn't do that, when your children did or didn't do that, when your mom said it just that way, when your dad did it just like that, they just, there's nothing to snag anymore. It's like, Oh.
So it's really by God's grace that
It is.
He's saying, come and...
But we have to ask. Because we could spend a lifetime blaming other people for those snags.
Being bitter.
And it's so freeing once we embrace what He is telling us. As I've been trying to get more attuned to hearing His voice, it was just a few months ago, I had one of those sorts of encounters with false identity. And for me, a lie that I've been believing for, it seems like forever, is that my worth is based on what I can accomplish. That's what defines me. And I'm going through a difficult season right now. And as I was praying with God about various things that I was going through, I felt like God just told me the most crazy thing, to not do any more school in the summer. My plan was to play catch up, and my gosh, we were so behind. We had a baby in January. We, missed weeks of school.
You shouldn't be behind him.
Oh my goodness, we have to make this up. We have to finish the textbook. And I was like, God, are you serious?
What are you talking about?
Is that okay? And I just felt God telling me that you're not defined by if you finish that. This is what's best for you, and that's not what makes you a good homeschooling mom. And I had to, gulp. All right, I'll believe you. It was hard, but it is. I've been finding just so much freedom in knowing that He's not defining me by that, and it's okay. I just needed Him to come and tell me, no, it's really okay. You don't have to finish it. It's okay. You can rest. Thank you, Jesus.
And when you hear that from God, it's much easier to say yes. Yeah.
You can rest in it, knowing that you made the right decision. It was God's telling you to do that. So.
I love that.